No one is who they think they are. This is a fact. No one is who they think they are. This is a fact.
Signature characteristics of many personality disorders can be quite unpleasant, such as the case of narcissistic personality disorder. Interacting with an NPD sufferer can be confusing, frustrating, and even hurtful. The NPD individual will often overlook or ignore many of these traits that make them unlikable.
No one is who they think they are. This is a fact.
Gaslighting,
Yeah.
what is that?
So gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse. It's where a person doubts the reality of another person, leaving that other person very, very confused.
I could do this. Listen to that. Listen to that. Y'all hear that? Now I could say, I know what I did. I know what I did. I know what I did. Now watch this. So now you think your brain is saying, oh, he's saying I know what I did. But I actually was saying that's not what it is.
I describe this person as being someone who was very charismatic.
Incredibly charming.
They were very charming.
He's very charming.
They could be nice, but then it would switch with a snap.
He would just always say one thing and do another.
He throws stuff in my face to distract me, to switch the spotlight onto myself, and then everything that he did wrong is out the window.
They would make me second guess my own judgment.
No one is who they think they are. This is a fact. I know what I did. Now watch this. So now you think your brain is saying, oh, he's saying I know what I did. But I actually was saying that's not what it is.
You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're saying. I never said that. They're crazy. You're crazy.
I started to think, maybe I am causing problems because every time I express this, he gets upset. It always seems like I'm the one causing the problem.
No one is who they think they are. This is a fact.
The hardest part was having friends telling me that I was being gaslit and I didn't see it. The hardest part was having friends telling me that I was being gaslit and I didn't see it.
It's taking place at best. But there's no existence without this pain. This shit is designed for you to lose people. And you never know how you're going to lose them along the way. It's just designed that way. You grow up with people and then they die. Like, it's just like that. You go, and sometimes you got to watch them on decline slowly. It's a wild world. This world is wild, man. You just can't mess up the money. I'm gonna keep saying it again. And I was about to talk about neuroplasticity because the challenges helps your brain to reshape and grow. So the more challenges that you endure, meaning don't run from the challenge, you see it face on. The more we engage the challenge, the more we take on the challenge, the better we are able to thrive now and later on. If you run from the challenge, if you run from the opportunity to face your fears, if you run from the opportunity to just heal, if you don't do the necessary things like meditation, prayer, introspection, contemplation, accountability, just accepting where you're accountable at, accepting that decisions that you may have made may have cost you amazing opportunities with people and things. If you don't come to terms, if you don't conduct the exercises that suffice for you to indulge in order to reshape your mind, then your perception becomes compromised. And that perception I'm talking about is the perception of yourself. And so long as you have a compromised perception of self, and everyone's perception is a hallucination. Reality is a hallucination. Everyone's perception is a hallucination. You know, reality is a hallucination. It's just we accept reality for what it is when we agree with the hallucination. It's a whole nother conversation. But this whole shit is illusory. This whole thing is holographic depictions projected from our DNA. What we see ourselves as and what we see others as is all illusory. You know, the brain takes in data in the form of geometric shapes and light, and that interpretation in turn becomes what you think you're dealing with day to day. So it's not me to tell you you're not who you say you are.
You might have encountered a sign of narcissism. Their perception leads them to believe what you have to say isn't important, so they blank it out. Rather than actively listening and integrating in discussions, they treat all conversations as a platform to present their ideas only, which they think are the only ideas worth listening to.
No one is who they think they are. This is a fact. No, you know, we can play a bunch of optical illusion games and we'll realize the assumptions that the brain makes on a day-to-day basis based on its level of anticipation. Right? So like I could do this. I could do this. Listen to that. Listen to that. Y'all hear that? Now I could say, I know what I did. I know what I did. I know what I did. Now watch this. So now you think your brain is saying, oh, he's saying I know what I did. But I actually was saying that's not what it is.
Delusion of always being entitled to admiration is why people around them often find themselves emotionally drained. To them, there's no greater rush than being put on a pedestal and worshipped by their fans and followers.
But what your brain is going to do is assume, once it makes a connection with something else, oh, that's what he's saying. Nope, that's not what I was saying in the beginning. But that's the type of false perception that takes place day to day. You know, your brain just makes presumptions that certain things are there that's not there because you have an anticipation of it being there. Sometimes people talk and you think you know where they're coming from and you really don't. But that's based on previous experiences and reservations that you may have. So, you know, that's how it be, man. That's how it be. Shit is illusion, man. We're not who we think we are. That's all right. That's all right. We're not who we think we are. So what do we do about that situation? Well, if we're not who we think we are, and that's a fact, then the only thing that we can do is what? Create who we would like to be amongst the rest of the populace. How about that? So we're not who we think we are. And once you come to terms with the fact that you're not who you think you are, you'll start creating who you will be. And that may sound weird, but even when you look at the word personality or person, etymologically, before you get to personas, two sounds, the first thing you get is mask. So person literally means mask. This is who you give people an impression that you are. When people meet you, you have your person. You come in a certain personage. See that word? Coming in the personage. When you hear people use that word personage, somebody's coming in a personage, that's because they're wearing a mask, figuratively speaking. And they're showing you the side of you. They're showing you the side of themselves that's the most marketable, but not necessarily them. And everyone is guilty of that. And some of us actually start believing that we are who we market ourselves to other people to be. Now, it doesn't mean that if you present yourself as a great person that you're not great. It doesn't mean that. But you know, We all fall in love with each other until we get to really know each other. And then the real question is, can you accept the fact that there's parts of people that you didn't know exist? Can you still love that person? Can you accept the fact that there's parts of people that you didn't know exist? Can you still love that person? But that brings about a fear that you may not be who you think you are because someone wasn't who you thought they was. And I know all that shit sounds confusing, and I'm not really looking to get into that right now. I just want to bring it back to, I know people are betraying you. I know there's a lot of letdowns. Some of you have been laid off. I know some of you have been hurt by others. But understand, if it's someone that loves you, most times they ain't mean to hurt you. That's a fact. If it's someone that loves you, I mean, it's just the way of the world. Like, you know, I got family members that say they love me, and I'm like, yo, if you figure that I love you, then why don't you eat better so you don't put me in a position where I gotta be there for you when cancer plays its toll. I don't want to have to be there for you while you have diabetes. So since you love me, part of you loving me is to make sure you don't put me through that situation, which in turn would represent you loving yourself. But then the love changes because they're addicted to the food. So then you love the food more than you love me. I could think about it on so many different levels, but then everyone's life is their own responsibility. Hence the term responsibility. So it's levels to it. So this love thing gets a little tricky too, you know? Love gets a little tricky too. Because what does that really mean? You know, a child shouldn't have to bury their parent prematurely because of the decision making of their parent. It's part of the process. And oftentimes people get into relationships and they believe that they shouldn't be hurt now that they're in love. But it's really the opposite. They believe that they shouldn't be hurt now that they're in love. But it's really the opposite. A child shouldn't have to bury their parent prematurely because of the decision making of their parent. But they have to bury their parent prematurely because of the decision making of their parent. It's part of the process. And oftentimes people get into relationships and they believe that they shouldn't be hurt now that they're in love. But it's really the opposite. You know, the best relationships are the ones that were able to thrive during their greatest test, because a lot of people have this false presumption that in order for you to be in a relationship with me, you should never hurt me on a certain level. But in actuality, to really be in love with someone is to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability demands that you be hurt at some point or the other during that relationship. So you could make a determination if it's worth the pain. It's not an excuse for anyone hurting you. It's just a reality if it's worth the pain. It's not an excuse for anyone hurting you. It's just a reality if it's worth the pain. It's not an excuse for anyone hurting you. It's just a reality.
They think they're superior to others around them and believe themselves to be infallible. Narcissism and empathy don't go hand in hand. Narcissists are unwilling to see the world from the perspective of others. As a result, they're able to exploit others without any feeling of remorse. They can manipulate people to fulfill their own needs without regard for the consequences that their actions may have on others.
You know, how strong is your love for that person if you would just quit on them because you finally got hurt? Love is about vulnerability. We'll do a class on that one. It's about vulnerability. You got to be vulnerable. And in order for you to substantiate that love, the pain has to come. And it has to be a pain that you can't anticipate. It's going to come. And when it comes, it's going to hit. When that shit hit, it's going to be crazy. And most times, we be like this. Nah, that type of pain, yo, the pain hurts so much, we leave the relationship. Because we don't want to feel that pain again. But you see, that's when it normally gets good. If you can make it through it. If you can make it through it. Word up. Real stuff. Had to get a moment of silence for that. I don't know if I want to do podcasts, man. I don't know if I want to do that. I'll be wanting to, but I don't know if I got the time, man. I don't want nobody bother me about not being as consistent. The UCC course is not done.
It's all about gaslighting. Now, gaslighting refers to the act of undermining another person's reality by denying facts, the environment around them, or their feelings. Targets of gaslighting are manipulated into turning against their own memory, emotions, and possibly their own core identity. People use gaslighting in relationships for two primary reasons. Number one, so they don't have to fix and work on their own shit. And number two, so they can create insecurities in others and use that as a form of control. I think it is massively important that we deconstruct manipulative mind games so that people are able to spot them, avoid them, and if you've been through one, to heal from one. Now, yes, you can listen to this video and get the recipe and try to use this on others, but I truly want to stress nobody wins when mind manipulation is used. Because yes, you can get someone to technically fall for you, but they will despise the experience of being close to you, and thus you lose out on the entire point and the joy of intimacy. And that is why it is so crucial that we practice self-care, and above all else, that we arm ourselves with knowledge so that we can see people with bad intentions miles away. And
niggas spend all day taxpayer dollars, my nigga, on Beyonce's internet telling women how to be women all day. Oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. I understand, my nigga, you the perfect bitch, but hold it down.
Woods, pretty face, but I'm known for hitting drugs. Yeah. Got him like, too good. To the yard, he ain't never leave his pretty on God. Broke, too good. Real boss, keep me, guy.